But before we do that, I want to make a few points. First, don't worry if the steps or the jargon we'll be going over in the next few pages doesn't make sense yet. This is just a light introductory treatment of writing a simple program, and we'll cover all the terminology and steps in much more detail in the coming weeks. Secondly, in all the steps that follow, I want to introduce you to a specific way of writing your code. Rather than writing a big long program in one pass from top to bottom and then at the end testing it to see if it works, I want to get us used to the idea of writing code from the outside in and incrementally in small steps. We're going to be making a lot of little changes, saving them, compiling them, and testing to see if they work properly. I think you'll find that over the long haul, this will make you much more efficient, and it'll save a lot of frustration because you'll be able to find and fix your errors much more quickly than saving them all up for the end. When we talk about compilation, you can think about it as running a spell checker on your code. In this case, the compiler is helping you find any syntactical errors in your code, which you then have to fix before you can run your code. Keep in mind that you cannot execute or debug your code until you can cleanly compile it without errors first. And finally, don't forget to save your work frequently, especially once you've got some changes that work. Okay, in step 7, let's start writing our first Java class. We'll do public class hello world RL, and notice I'm appending my initials to the end of the class. You should append your initials to yours. And we'll have an open curly brace and a closing curly brace. And this represents a class in Java. A class is the basic fundamental software building block in Java. It's like a template or a blueprint, and everything in Java is a class. So this class is contained in a file having exactly the same name as the name of the class. A class represents the outermost structure or shell of any program we're going to write in this course. These curly braces are called delimiters, and between the opening curly brace and the closing curly brace is what's called a block. This is simply a group of related statements in Java, and inside of this is where we're going to put all the guts of our program. Again, we're building our software from the outside in, and this is the outermost shell for a piece of software. So in step 8, we're going to save our changes and try to compile this code. Notice that this star down here indicates that we've got some unsaved changes. So we'll save our changes, and that star goes away. And then we'll try to compile this code. And if all goes well, we should see this in the message window. And what this tells us is that we now have a perfectly well-formed outermost class shell for our program. This doesn't do anything yet, but it's valid Java code, and it's the outermost shell into which we're going to put some additional code. Okay, now we're in step 9, and let's stop for a moment and look at what we did in that compile step. This is actually the command that executed under the hood, and when we installed the Java JDK, in the bin directory there's an executable called javac, and that's just the Java compiler. And when we tried to compile our code with this icon under the hood, this was the process that ran. We compiled this Java source file into what's called bytecode, or a .class file, and notice that now we have this companion file, hello world RL.class. So when we compile, we turn source code into the ones and zeros of bytecode, which we'll talk about a little later on. So now we're in step 10, and before we get too much farther, let's add some documentation to our file in the form of a header block at the top of our file, and that's just going to be a multi-line comment which has the following syntax: /* */ and everything between those two characters, the opening /* and the closing */ is a multi-line comment in Java, which means it's completely ignored by the compiler, and it serves only to document our work to the reader or to our future selves. So let's set up a header block that's going to look like this. It's going to have a name. I'm going to put these on separate lines separated by blank space. The course, the date, the file name, and probably most importantly the purpose of the file. So I'll fill that out with my own information. Rob Lapkus, CS12, fall 2015. Let's say the date is 8/24/15, first day of the semester. And the file name is hello world rl.java. And the purpose of this file is, it's a simple hello world Java application to test the language. Okay, so this is what a header block looks like, and this is going to be a required part of any code that you turn in for grading. You must have a header block with this following information. You can format this or order it in whatever way that you wish, but this must be a part of every file that you turn in. So this is non-executable code. You'll notice that it appears in orange, and that's a nice feature of using an IDE. It's got this kind of context-aware colorization, but everything in orange is a comment, and this just serves to document our program. Make sure that you put one of these in every piece of code that you turn in. So in keeping with our practice, before we go any further, we'll save our changes, compile them, make sure we haven't introduced any errors. We compiled cleanly, so this is fine, and so we're good.